first, we want to make sure that our measurements are reliable. So what that means is, let's take the alcohol expectancy items as an example. So we have 10 separate questions that we asked our participants, and we're using the average, but we want to make sure that all of these items are related to one another so that that average is a reliable scale. Meaning we don't want maybe question 5 to not really have anything to do with the other questions. If participants were answering very low on all of these items, say participant 1 here as an example, if this participant was answering low on all of these items, except maybe 5, item 5, they answered very high because maybe item 5 was just not worded in the best way, then we would say that maybe we should exclude that item from our measurement because it's not reliable. We learned in class that the value that we're looking at when we're trying to see if a measure is reliable is the value associated with the Cronbach's alpha. So Cronbach's alpha is essentially a value that's giving us a correlation of each of these items. So it's correlating 1 with 10, 1 with 9, 1 with 8, so on and so forth. And just making sure all of our participants, if they answered high on 1, they should also answer high on 10, 9, 8, and 7, so on and so forth. So before we can, before we can see whether our average scales are correlated with one another, we first need to make sure that our measurements are reliable. So we are looking at our data set here. At the top, next to the label, is a little graphic that tells us how JASP is reading the scale or the measure. So these 3 bars here means that it's reading it as an ordinal measure. Remember that ordinal is a categorical variable that is ordered. So like first place, second place, third place, or short, average height, taller than average height, things like that. All of these measures are not ordinal. These are all going to be continuous variables. Which is something that's answered on a Likert scale, ranging maybe from 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, as we see in these examples, where there's theoretically an infinite number of values with a maximum and a minimum. So because none of these are ordinal, we don't want JASP to read them as ordinal, so we need to change them all to scale, or JASP will incorrectly analyze our data or maybe give us an error code. So to do that, you just click on the icon and change them all to scale. It's a little bit tedious, so it just takes a second to change all of them. Not ordinal. Scale. Just changing all of them. We're not looking at sex or any of these other variables here, so we don't need to change those. We just need to change all of the frequency of alcohol drinking and expectancies of alcohol to scale. And then our average, JASP already recognized that these are scales, so we don't need to change those. Okay, so first thing we need to do is check that our scales are reliable. So first, let's start with the variable of per month drinking. So this will be all 4 of these items. So per month frequency, per month high, per month drunk, and per month fived. So to run a reliability analysis, we just go up to the top here. So these are all of the different tests that you can run. So we want to run a reliability, so we'll click on reliability, and we're going to do classical unidimensional reliability. So on the left here, we have all of the items in our data set. And then on the right, we have the variables that we want to analyze. So we're going to move all of the per month drinking items over to variables. 3, 4. Okay. So we have these 4 items in our variables. These are the 4 that we're looking at. And then on the right pane over here is the results. They come out immediately as soon as you put your variables over. Where we don't want the McDonald's, I think this is the symbol for omega. I might be wrong, but I'll just say McDonald's W. We don't want this. We want Cronbox alpha. So back in our left pane, we will drop down menu analysis and deselect McDonald's W, and we will select Cronbox alpha. So now we can see on the right that Cronbox alpha, what we want is the point estimate. So it's 0.94. So the way that we interpret Cronbox alpha is anything below 0.7 is not a reliable measure. Anything above around 0.7 is acceptable. Anything around 0.8 is a good scale, and anything above 0.9 is excellent. So 0.94 is above 0.9, so we can say that our per month drinking items are a reliable measure of drinking. So we will be able to use that average scale item that I created. So we don't need to analyze each of these individually, we'll just be able to use the average. Okay, so now that we've checked that our per month drinking items are reliable, we will check that our alcohol expectancies items are reliable. So we can just exit out of this if we want.